Hi Padel driver, do you know the tactics of the first 3 shots of every point in Padel? I can guarantee you that this is what decides 70% of your Padel match. So as you will see in this video, it is an extremely important topic. These 3 shots are the serve, the return and the first volley. And before we start, I want you to be aware of these 3 key concepts in Padel tactics. These are: number 1, consistency; number 2, keep the net for as long as possible; and number 3, move your opponents around. You're gonna see how important these concepts are throughout the video and how we integrate them on every single shot. This is the second episode of the Padel Tactics series, and I'm gonna make a promise with you. This is going to be the best YouTube series that you're gonna see on Padel Tactics. The only thing that I'm gonna ask you is to hit the subscribe button and the like button if you enjoy this content, because I'm confident that this is massively going to improve your Padel. Thank you. We're gonna start with the serve. What's the aim with the serve? First, we need to understand that we are not simply trying to put the ball in, and second, we are not trying to hit a winner. So what are we trying to do? Really simple. We want to prevent my opponent from playing the lob. Or in other words, I want to force him to play low. One important thing to mention here is that you don't need to worry about your opponent playing a lob on a strong serve, because what's gonna happen in this situation is that many times the lob is gonna be bad and you're gonna be able to finish the point straight away. Okay, so how are we going to prevent my opponent from playing the lob? The first common mistake that I see here is that many players try to hit the serve too fast. This is not good because you are not allowing time for yourself to get to a net. Instead, as we explained in our serve video that we leave over here, it is extremely important that you try to keep the ball low. We're gonna do this with a lot of slice. The easy way to see if you are doing this effectively is check where your opponent is hitting. If he's hitting below the knee, you are doing this fantastically well. From this height, most of the times he's gonna be forced to play low because it's extremely hard to play the lob on that situation. Another essential concept when you are serving: make sure that you are keeping a really high percentage of first serves in. Because every time you miss that first serve, your opponent is gonna get relaxed. He knows that you are no longer hitting a good serve, and it is really likely that he hits the lob. So remember, try to get 70–80% of your first serves in. Obviously, this is going to mean that sometimes you're gonna have to take less risk on the serve to keep that percentage in. But this is a trade that you want to be making. Remember that almost no points in Padel are won with the serve alone, so it is not worth taking more risk than needed. Another important aspect that also has to do with the psychological part of the game: make sure that you serve to the different directions. Why? Because if you always serve to the same direction, your opponent knows what he's getting, so he's gonna be ready for that shot. Remember, serve to the tee, serve to the glass, and a special tip: in important points, my preferred serve is to the body. Give it a try and you will see that you win many more points by applying this tip. And when you try these different directions, keep a record of what happened in the previous points, because it is really common, these scenarios that I'm gonna mention. Some players really struggle with the glass, especially beginners and people that are playing on the opposite side to the one that they are used to. And the other pattern is many people struggle returning with their backhand. So pay attention at these things when you are serving. If you spot any of these trends in your opponent, make sure that you make the most out of it. Keep serving to that direction until he fixes that problem. If he keeps making the same mistake, you will get on his head. Second shot, the return. What's the aim of the return? Extremely simple: put the ball back in. You cannot imagine how many players I see every single day throwing away more than 2 points per game when they are returning. It doesn't make any sense. It is extremely hard to break if you are missing 2 returns per game. put the ball back in. Even if this means putting a super simple return back in, this is worth it, because you want to give them one more chance to make the mistake. And now I'm gonna give you 4 really simple rules that you have to follow when returning. Rule number 1. Whenever you get an easy serve, you wanna play the lob, ideally on the weaker player, and if you can, you wanna move to a net. A general rule here is, on the first serves, we're gonna return low. On the second serves, we're gonna return with a lob. Rules 2, 3, and 4 apply when your opponent hit a good serve and you are forced to return low. So, rule number 2, if you can choose where to return, always return to whoever served. So for example, here, this guy is serving, he has to move to a net, and if we can choose, we're gonna play back to that player. Why? Because this player has to hit the first volley while he is moving. On the other hand, if we play to this player, he's in a static position and he's in a much better position to hit a solid first volley. So remember, every time you can, try to return to whoever served. Rule number 3, if the serve is really good and you see that you are struggling a lot, it's easier to go down the line. Okay, so in this example, this guy is serving really good to the glass, he's coming to a net, and you see that that serve is almost impossible. What you're gonna do? You're gonna simply return down the line. Why? First, because technically it's easier, and second, because this player is really likely that he plays the volley to your partner, as we will see later. So now your partner is gonna come to the center and offload you a little bit, so that you don't have to play 2 shots in a row. Rule number 4, this applies only to really advanced players. If you can, try to keep the ball tight to a net, because this is going to prevent your opponents from hitting a good first volley. Obviously, this requires a really good technique, but the moment you start facing strong players, this is a must, because if you lift your return, the first volley, you're always gonna get destroyed there. So remember, if you are an advanced player, aim to get that return tight to the net. And final tip for your return, remember that your opponent is gonna try to move you around. So it is extremely important that as soon as you hit, you don't stay there watching the ball. You have to recover your position immediately to have more time for the next shot. Third shot, the first volley. What's the aim of the first volley? To keep adding pressure. And another golden rule is the ball has to go back in. Again, consistency. It is a non-negotiable that the first volley goes in. Full stop. As we have mentioned in other videos, remember every time that you are gonna go to a net to hit that first volley, stop before hitting. You are running, you have to break the inertia, take the split step, and then volley. It is a really common mistake to hit with all the inertia moving forward. It is really hard to hit a good shot if you do this. Obviously, in all these explanations, we are assuming that your serve was good and your opponent is forced to play low. I want you to remember what we mentioned at the beginning of the video. One key concept for Padel tactics is move your opponents around. And that's what we're gonna be doing with the first volley. So let's imagine that I serve to the glass, I'm gonna come here. Whenever I get the return from my opponent, where do you think you're gonna be hitting this first volley? Exactly, to the center. Why? Because if we do this, we are making this player move while he's hitting, which is always harder than hitting from an static position. And in exactly the same way, whenever we serve to the center, and he returns, for example here, the first volley, where is it gonna go? To the corner, okay? Remember, always move your opponent around. It is a really common mistake on the first volley to change direction for no reason, as we said in the first video of Padel tactics. If this guy is returning and then for no reason we play to this guy here, now we are in trouble. Why? Because this player can take advantage of all this space, because I need to move, my partner needs to move, and at the net we are actually defending. So remember, it's easier to keep adding pressure to the guy that returned. Does this mean that we can never switch to the other player on the first volley? No. As you know from other videos, if, for example, I get an easy return, imagine this player hits to the backhand of this player and this volley is quite easy, if you want to finish the point, it is actually easier to go cross-court because you have a larger distance and it's easier to accelerate that ball. But again, only do it if you have a big reason to do so. Otherwise, if you play a neutral shot in that direction, you're going to be attacked even when you are at the net. As I'm going to show you now, this topic can get extremely complex, but in this video we try to cover the basics. I'm going to show you what you can think in all these three shots. For example, this player is serving to the glass and now he's moving to a net. Now this player has different options. He can play here, he can play here, he can play here, or he can play here. Which one you think is a better option? We're going to analyze a bit what could happen. So this space, I wouldn't play it, it's too hard. Now we can play to the backhand volley of this player, we can play to the backhand volley of this player or to the forehand. This one, if the return is not good, they're going to destroy you. And now, if you play to the backhand, he has the center, the fence, or he can even accelerate there. So, the best option, in theory, would be to play to the backhand of this player that is coming. You can see that there are so many possibilities just with serve and return. So, if you want to know more about Padel tactics, remember to let us know in the comments, give us a like and subscribe to this channel to don't miss anything on Padel tactics. As you know, Padel is a game of pairs. So it is not really useful if you know all the tactics but your partner doesn't. So we really recommend that you share this video with your Padel partner so that you can start playing as a team rather than two random players on the same court. Thank you for watching and we will see you in the next one. ¡Vamos!